In today's video, I'm going to go over the basics of navigation, drawing, and editing tools. Before we get started, if you are new, my name is Melissa. I am the real BIM lady. I have spent most of my career working with residential architecture, training, managing, and developing content and processes for architects to improve their workflow and efficiency. I will be posting a new video every week, so subscribe to my channel to get the latest and the greatest. So let's get started. I have a model open currently, and the first thing I want to go over with you is 3D navigation. So on my quick access toolbar here up at the top, I'll find the 3D default view, which is this little house, and click on it once. And that opens my 3D view. Over on the right here, we have a set of tools for orbiting around, zooming, navigation. But before I get into that, the easiest way and the most efficient way is what I use all the time is I hold down the Shift key, and on your mouse, the scroll button, the wheel, you can hold that down at the same time and you can orbit around. To make that even a little bit easier, you can select an element. I'll select this light fixture, and then you can do the same thing, hold down the Shift key and the mouse wheel button, and it uses that as an axis to rotate around. So if you have a really big model or a really big project and you want to rotate around one element, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier. So over on the top right of this screen, we have a bunch of 3D tools. And I'm not going to go over all of them because there's a lot, but I'm going to urge you to really dive deep and go into this, because I have found that some people use Revit for years and years and years and they don't know some of these tools exist. And some of them are really pretty cool. So I'm going to fly through some of these, but be sure to go back through them yourself. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the view cube. That is this cube up here at the top right. This is really quick and easy, so you can just click to the view that you want and it'll rotate to that view. It's really pretty easy. There's also some buttons right here that, depending on what version is, if they're going to be there or not that you're working in. This is Revit 2021. So that kind of goes up and down or left and right. I don't know that I've ever really had to use those, but they're there in case you do. The next thing is the navigation bar, which is this thing below the view cube. Sometimes this navigation bar gets X'd out of and disappears. There is a shortcut to it, but to get it back, you want to go to your View tab. Over on the right, the User Interface dropdown, and then you can click on Navigation Bar and it'll be back. So we have three options here. We have the navigation wheel, we have some zoom commands, and then we have a fly-through command. So I'm going to go over this navigation wheel. If you click it once, this navigation wheel comes up. You can just see it kind of hovers over where the mouse is. So I'm not clicking on anything in the mouse right now. So in order to use this, you want to hover your mouse over the tool that you want, click your left mouse key button and hold, and then it activates that tool. I'll try orbit. The only time I've really gotten into using this view cube is when I was on a laptop and I didn't have a mouse. It's really hard to work in Revit without a mouse. And so if you find yourself having to navigate without a mouse, this is the easiest way to do it. There's also some options in this navigation wheel. So there's a little drop down there I clicked, and there's all sorts of things. And so I suggest you go through these on your own and just figure out how it works. So I pressed escape to get out of that. Let's say you find yourself way zoomed out or in a funky spot. There is a little house right here that's a home button. You can click on that, and it brings your drawing back up to the home position, which this is the default home position. You can change it if you want, and I'll show you how. But this is pretty handy to use. Just kind of get yourself back to square one and start over navigating. So you can also right click on this home button and you have a lot of really cool options. The first thing I want to show you and get excited about, because architects love this one, is the difference between perspective view and orthographic view. By default, Revit's in orthographic. And so changing it to perspective makes it a little bit easier to tell and is kind of more used to how the eye and how architects are used to drawing it. It's a lot easier to tell when you're when you have a really large project. This one isn't easy to tell really the difference, but that option's there and architects love it. The other thing I want to go over is orient to view and orient to direction. These are really great tools. Orient to direction, you can set up an isometric view. Which I use a lot to set up stair drawings, 3D stair drawings and 3D fireplace drawings. It makes it really easy to set that drawing up and to put on your documents along with plan view, section views, and elevation views. You can also orient to view, and this one's kind of neat. If you have a view set up in your model, you can orient to that view. So for example, I have 2 sections set up. I'm going to go to one of the sections, and what it does is it puts a wireframe section box and cuts the 3D view where I have that section cut. So I can actually go through and orbit around, which is really cool. It makes it really fast to kind of see what you're doing and what you're looking at. And then to go back to the default 3D view, I need to get rid of this box. So over in the view properties, I'm going to scroll down, and this section box here, I'm simply going to check it off, and I'll go back to my 3D view. So that's the basics of navigating in this 3D view. Now let's go over some basic drawing and editing tools. So over in my project browser on the left, I'm going to go find a floor plan view, level 1 here that I have highlighted, double click, and now that goes to my floor plan view. I have some walls kind of set up and drawn over here that we're going to use to go over the drawing and editing tools. So if you go to your Modify tab, we are going to go over the tools in this Modify palette right here. So starting at the top left, we have Align. So keyboard shortcut AL. I'm always going to urge you, you'll probably hear me talk about it a lot in these beginner videos, to always check your options bar. This is your options bar right here underneath your ribbon. There's going to be a lot of different options for each tool on this bar. And again, I see a lot of people who have used Revit for years and years that don't pay attention to this options bar, and they're losing out on some of the functionality of the tools and some things that are going to make their lives a lot easier. So always pay attention to this option bar. So for example, with Align, we have an option to check multiple alignment, which would mean we can align multiple items to one element. So how Align works is you are clicking some face, here it's a wall face, and then we want other things to align to that wall face. So if we had multiple alignment, we could align multiple things to that wall face. I'm going to hit Escape and undo once. So if we go back into the Align command, if I check multiple alignment and I click that, now I can align multiple things. It's giving me a warning. I'm going to hit Escape and undo. The other option is your preference on what you're aligning to. And by default, it's wall faces. I always leave it as wall faces because generally I find that you are aligning to wall faces. Like you may be aligning some cabinetry to a line face or something. Very rarely are you aligning something to the wall center. So to recap the Align tool, you're clicking on what you want something to align to is your first click. And your second click is the element you want to move over to that spot. And that's how that works. And I'm going to undo. The second tool, the next one over, is offset. The offset tool is built into every command within Revit. So I don't find myself going to the modify tab and the offset button very often. But if you do, this is how it works. So if you want to select an element and drag it a desired distance, you want to go to graphical. If you want to enter a distance, you hit numerical. So I'm going to enter a distance and hit numerical. So let's say I want to offset this wall 5 feet. And again, you want to look at copy. Am I making a copy of this wall or am I moving this wall? So if I uncheck copy, it's just moving the wall, basically. If I click copy, then it's going to create a copy of that wall. I'm going to click on the modify button. So graphical, it's just kind of moving an element or making a copy of the element. It works kind of just essentially the same as the copy command. So the next tool is mirror, and we're going to go over two of these at the same time. So we have mirror pick axis or mirror draw axis. So this is one of the tools that you have to have the element selected first. So I'm going to select this wall, click on it once, activate the mirror pick axis tool. And so that'll allow me to pick an axis that it mirrors. And again, when we look at the options bar, we have whether we want to copy or not. So I'm going to uncheck copy. And you'll see that says basically moving the wall. So the next one, mirror draw axis, you can draw the axis of whatever you want. So I clicked the edge of this wall and my second click is going to be some angle for it to mirror. Doing that again, and again you have copy or no copy. So if I don't want to copy and I want to mirror it on this axis, that's how that works. The next two over are split element and split with gap. They essentially do the same thing, but one's going to put a gap and one isn't. So split element or keyboard shortcut SL, I'm going to zoom in. I can simply click on the wall and the wall became 2, but there is no gap in between. So if I were to use split with gap, I can change the joint. Right now it's 10 inches. Let's say we want 8 inches. And then wherever I split, it's going to put 8 inches in between that split. The next two I'm going to go over are pin and unpin. So the thumbtack looking things. So what these do is if you want, this is another one where you have to select the element first. If you don't want this wall to move, you know it has to be there, you know it's never moving, nothing about it is changing, you can pin it. And here you see this thumbtack shows up too. So the command is here or it's here. So if I wanted to unpin it, I can either press unpin or I can press it here and it unpins it. I suggest that people don't pin walls because it just sometimes it causes trouble later on when somebody else may be working on your drawing or helping you out and they can't figure out why they can't edit a wall or why they can't edit something. Usually it's because it's pinned and the person didn't know about it. It also can slow down your model if you have a bunch of things pinned. So generally when I'm training people, I tell them that it's okay to pin. Maybe you scanned in a hand sketch or a drawing to trace, or you're tracing over a CAD file. It is okay to pin those things, the CAD file or the hand sketch, but try not to pin things in your model very often. The next tool we're going to go over is array, and that is this one here that looks like the 4 boxes. And so again, this tool, you have to have something selected before you activate the tool. So I'm going to, let's select this wall here and activate the array command. We have a lot of options in our options bar here. We have linear array or radial array, group and associate, which is on by default, and I will always leave it on. I will go over what the difference is in a few minutes. Number is how many you want, and then move to second or move to last, and constrain. Constrain is going to keep your things going left, right, and up, down. So let's start with linear array. We'll keep it group, checkbox with group and associate. I'm just going to leave it 2. Let's move to second. And so I'm going to click somewhere on the wall, and you can either type in a number, so I'll type in 4 feet, and then the number 2. And so that's going to give me a wall every 4 feet. So let's say I want 4 of them. I can simply type in 4, enter. And these lines here and these dotted lines here, that means it's grouped, group and associate. That's what that checkbox did that we talked about on the options bar. So if I wanted to, anything that is blue in Revit, you can generally edit. So this number is blue here, this 4. If I wanted to make this 3, I can type that in. Or 5. It's really pretty cool. Also, this second one, if I wanted to move it, it's going to update all across the board, this array. So let's go over linear array. So let's go over last. So again, we're in linear array, group and associate. I'm going to leave it number 2 and go to last. Let's just hit constrain, just so you know. So constrain, I can either only go up, down, or left, right. I can't go at a 45 or a funky angle. And so now we're going to last. So let's say we have 50 feet. And now that number comes up. So I don't normally ever mess with this number up here because you can always add to it after you start the command. So let's say 10, enter. Okay, 15. And then if you wanted to make that 40 feet instead of 50 feet, I can move it back 10 feet to make it 40 and it'll update. So what happens when you don't group and associate? So if I activate the array command and I uncheck this, and I'll keep the same settings as I did last time, and let's say I go 30 feet, I don't have, like, I'm done. It didn't really do anything for me. Like I can't add any more infilling walls. This option doesn't come up to change it later. And so I really don't see a reason to use the array command when you're not using the group and associate. Okay, let's go over radial array. This one's super cool. I think you're gonna like it. So I'm gonna select this window, an array, and I'll go to radial array. And I'm going to group and associate. Revit tends to remember your last settings and then keep them that way. So since the last array I did, I unchecked group and associate. Now I need to check it. So last, okay, I'll say that. You can specify an angle or you can place it on the center of rotation. So let's do that since we're on a radius wall. I'm gonna place. So I wanna find the center of this arc here. So I'm gonna hover over this wall and in my keyboard type SC, which is snap to center, and then I can click to place the center of the radius. And then my second click is gonna be on that window, and then my third click is gonna be along this wall. And then let's say we want 5 windows. There we go, 5 windows evenly spaced along the arch. Very cool, isn't it? So if I wanted to do a radial array with an angle, I activate the array. We're in radial, group and associate. Number 3, let's say I'm gonna move to second. We'll do an angle. I'll just say 15 degrees. Enter. So it took that wall that I had highlighted, it added 3 at 15 degrees. Let's say I want to add 6. There we go. That's how that one works. Okay, the next one is scale. So I'm using this a lot when I have to bring in civil files or survey files that need to be scaled, and also any hand drawings or sketches that I need to bring into my drawing to scale them and trace over them. And so I have my logo here that we're going to scale. So this is another one that you have to click first and then activate the command. And we have 2 options on scaling. So first I'm going to use graphical. So you use graphical if you want to enter a dimension. So let's say I want the overall of this logo to be 50 feet. So I'm going to click the first point and then the second point, and then we have a dimension showing up that's approximately 11'6" right now. If I wanted that 50 feet, I just simply type in 50, enter, and now my logo is 50 feet. So a lot of times when we bring in survey files or civil files, we have to scale them up by 12. And so we can select that civil file, activate the scale command, change it to numerical, and type 12, and then your civil file will scale correctly to be the right size. Okay, the move command. So move, you will notice, is kind of built into everything. If you hover over, I clicked on this wall and I hover over it, and the 4 arrows are coming up, which matches the 4 arrows here. So that's kind of your move command built in. But as you probably know, you don't want to rely on moving walls or moving a lot of elements like free like this. So you'd want to activate the move command to move it to a precise location. And so again, I activated the move command after I selected the wall. Constrain, that's going to keep it going up, down, left, right, and not a weird angle on us. Disjoin, if I had anything attached to this wall, such as a door or a window or a wall tag, if I hit disjoin, it's going to basically delete the window wall, or the window and the door and the tag. It's basically disjoining the wall that you're moving from anything it's joined to. So there are occasions that you will need to use that. For now, I'm going to leave it unchecked. And so you simply click once, and then your second click is how much you want to move it. You can either do a second click, or you can enter in a dimension and hit enter. So the next command we want to go over is copy, which is right here. The move and the copy command work very similar to move and copy in AutoCAD. So it works best if you highlight the element first that you want to copy, activate your copy command, and then again constrain, you know that one now, it's left, right, up, down, and multiple. I'm going to select multiple so you can see what it does. So then my first click is where I want to move it, copy it from. Second click, you can either enter in that dimension as, let's say, 20 feet. And then since I'm on multiple, I can keep going. So if I didn't have multiple selected, I move it once and then I'm done. And I have to activate copy again, move it again. So the next command I want to go over is trim extend to corner. So I'm going to activate it, and I select one wall, and then I'll select another wall, and it trims it to be a nice corner. Select one wall and a second wall. Oh, that one was part of that's saying it was part of an array. And so it's saying, do you want to ungroup so we can so we can make this move? Yes, I want to ungroup it. So that's how that one works. You'll probably use that one a lot. The next one is trim extend a single element. So this one works a little different than it does in AutoCAD. So I'm going to activate it. Kind of like a line, I'm going to select what I want an element to move to, and then I'll select another element to move to it. I'm going to do that one more time. So let's say we wanted to eliminate this portion of the wall, this end portion of the wall right here. It kind of works in reverse. So you have to select what you want to trim from, and then you're selecting what you want to keep. So if I want to keep this part right here that's going through all these walls, I have to click on that and then it trims it. I'm going to undo to show you that again. So if I were to click here and I click this side, then this is going to get trimmed through here. So that was a little confusing to me at first when I was switching from AutoCAD to Revit. That took me a little time to figure out what end I needed to click on. And this one, trim, extend multiple elements, this one's pretty cool. So let's say I want these 3 walls right here to trim to go extend to this angled wall. I'm just going to pull this one back. So I activate the command, click the face of this wall, and then I can do a window on those 3, and it goes down to that wall. But you don't have to do a window, so I'll do it again. I'm going to click on this face of the wall, and this time I'll click this one, and then I can just keep clicking. Even if they don't intersect, you can click on the wall. You can click. Give me a bunch of errors here. Revit does not like overlapping walls. So the last tool I'm going to go over is this big red X, which is delete. So you can also use the delete button on your keyboard. So you select an item first, and then you press the delete key, and it will go away. Now you have the basics of navigation in 3D, drawing, and editing tools. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and in the next video we'll run through the basics of walls, doors, and windows. We're starting to get into it now. I'm very excited. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.